Have you ever gotten a letter from HMRC? Your heart does that little jump and you think, oh no, what now? Well, you're definitely not alone. Today, with a little help from the experts over at Pro Tax Accountant, we are going to pull back the curtain on one of the most important documents you'll ever get, the P2 tax code notice. Let's make sense of your money together. I'm sure you've seen it, right? Kind of lurking there on your payslip. A weird little mix of numbers and a letter, something like 1257L. It looks like jargon, but that little code, that is the direct instruction from MHRC to your employer, telling them exactly how much tax to take from your hard-earned cash. And getting it wrong isn't a tiny mistake. It can be a really costly one. You know, if you find this whole tax code thing confusing, you are in very, very good company. It's one of the most common questions people have about their finances. And that's exactly why we've teamed up with the pros at Pro Tax Accountant for this discussion, to cut through all that jargon and give you the confidence to take control. Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First up, we'll talk about what a P2 notice actually is. Think of it as your tax password. Then we're going to decode the notice itself, section by section. After that, we'll get into the maths of how your code is built. We'll even run through a field guide to the most common codes. And most importantly, we'll cover what to do if it's wrong and your next steps with ProTax. So first things first, what is a P2 notice? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like this. Your tax code is a unique password for your salary. And the P2 notice? That's the official letter from HMRC that tells you what that password is. And just as important, why it is what it is. The official name is a PAYE coding notice, but let's be real, nobody calls it that. This isn't just another piece of junk mail. It's literally the instruction manual for your take-home pay. It shows you your tax code, and it lays out the exact calculation HMRC used to get there. It's like they're showing their work, so you can check it yourself. Right. When you first get a P2 notice, it can look a little intense. But really, you only need to focus on 5 key sections. Getting to know these is your absolute first line of defense against paying the wrong amount of tax. Okay, start with the basics, but they are so important. Is your name, address, and national insurance number correct? You'd be amazed how often there's a mistake. Next, just glance at the tax year. Is it for 2025 to 2026? Then you've got the heart of the document, the calculation itself. We'll come back to that in a second. Make sure it lists your current employer or pension provider. And please, don't skip the notes at the bottom. They explain what everything means. All right, now for the main event, how your code actually gets calculated. It all starts with one key number. Now, stay with me here, because understanding this next part is the absolute secret to mastering your tax. So, for the 2025/26 tax year, pretty much everyone in the UK gets what's called a standard tax-free personal allowance. And that magic number is £12,570. In simple terms, that's how much money you can earn before you have to pay a single penny of income tax. This number is the foundation, the bedrock of your tax code. Now, here is a fantastic pro tip from the team at Pro Tax Accountant that makes this whole thing incredibly simple. Just look at the number part of your tax code and multiply it by 10. That's it. So a code of 1257L means you have £12,570 of tax-free income. If your code was, say, 1150L, that means £11,500 is tax-free. It's an amazing little shortcut. So why would your code ever be different from the standard 1257L? Well, a super common reason is taxable benefits from your job, like private medical insurance. Let's imagine that benefit is worth £1,600 a year. What HMRC does is they simply subtract that from your personal allowance. This takes your new tax-free amount down to $10,970, and bingo, your new code becomes 1097L. It's how they make sure you pay the tax on that benefit throughout the year. But hey, it's not all about taking away. It can work in your favor too. Say you have tax-deductible work expenses, like professional membership fees. If you claim for them, HMRC adds that amount to your personal allowance. So here, £140 in fees gets added on, bumping your tax-free income up to £12,710. Your new code becomes 1271L, and you end up paying a little bit less tax. Perfect. Okay, but what happens if your deductions, like for a high-value company car, are actually bigger than your entire tax-free allowance? Well, that's when you see the slightly scary K code. Now, don't panic. It doesn't mean you're in trouble. It's just HMRC's way of telling your employer, hey, we need to collect a bit of extra tax here to cover these benefits. So we've figured out the numbers, but what about all those letters at the end? They're just as important. Let's do a quick fire round, a field guide to the most common ones you're likely to see.
A classic situation is having a second job. Now, HMRC is pretty clever about this. They'll apply your full tax-free allowance, your 1257L code, to your main job. But for your second job, you'll probably get a BR code, which stands for basic rate. This means every single pound you earn there is taxed at 20% from the get-go. And the reason is simple. Your tax-free allowance is already being used up at your main gig. It stops you underpaying tax by accident.
If you're a higher earner with a second income, you might see D0 or D1, which tax you at 40% or 45% straight away. On the flip side, you have NT, for no tax, but that's pretty rare. And then there are the ones you really have to watch out for, W1 or M1. These are temporary emergency codes, usually when you start a new job and HMRC is playing catch-up. And here's a did you know for you that is so important. Being on one of those emergency codes, W1 or M1, for too long almost always means you're overpaying tax. The system it uses is very basic and doesn't account for tax you've already paid in the year. So if you see W1 or M1 on your payslip, do not ignore it. You need to get it fixed because until you do, you're basically giving the taxman an interest-free loan with your own money. And that brings us to maybe the most empowering part of this whole thing. Your tax code is not set in stone. If you look at your P2 notice and something just feels off, you absolutely can and should get it corrected. And stay with me because you might be surprised at just how straightforward it can be. It's really just a simple 3-step process. First, check. Log into your personal tax account on the gov.uk website. You can see all the info HMRC has on you right there. Second, act. If something's wrong, you can tell them right there on the website or give them a call. And here's a key point. Your employer cannot change your code. Only you or HMRC can. And third, confirm. HMRC will send out a new P2 notice. Just double-check your next payslip to make sure the new code is being used. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from what a P2 notice even is to how your code is built and what you can do if it's wrong. So let's just quickly bring it all together with the absolute key takeaways. If you remember nothing else, remember these 5 things. 1. Your P2 notice is your personal tax roadmap. 2. Your tax code is just your personal allowance tweaked up or down for benefits and expenses. 3. Check it every single year and especially after a big life change like a new job or a promotion. 4. A wrong code means you are paying the wrong tax. Simple as that. And 5. You have the power to get it fixed. So you see, your tax code is so much more than just a random jumble of letters and numbers. It's one of the keys to your financial health for the whole year. So the big question I want to leave you with is this. After today, are you confident that yours is correct? If there's even a little bit of doubt in your mind, or if your situation is just a bit more complicated, please don't struggle alone. The team at Pro Tax Accountant, they are absolute experts in this. You can reach them directly on WhatsApp or by phone at 07985 689 912, or just drop them an email at info@protaxaccountant.co.uk. I really hope you found this guide useful. And if you did, there's plenty more where that came from. For more clear, simple breakdowns on UK tax, make sure you subscribe to the Pro Tax Accountant YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me.